Hello and welcome to Jazz Bass Quick Bites number 6, the video series where we break down the art of playing the bass in jazz into quick, digestible bites. Now, last time we were talking about a Dmin7 chord, and we looked at the chord tones, and we talked about the corresponding D Dorian scale. We played some walking bass lines using that information and added a little bit of rhythmic momentum, doubling up with some eighth notes. Today, I'm going to talk about chord tones and using those to play some of the harmony and chords on our bass, and we're going to build a melody. So let's jump right into it. When we looked at playing some chords on the G dominant 7 chord, I talked about the two notes which are the most important ones to start with. And those are the 3rd and 7th scale degrees. Now, when we apply that same idea to the Dmin7 chord, we're talking about an F and a C. If you play those together, you've got the core of that chord right there. Now, today I want to add some notes in, so I am going to add a 3rd note to our chord note, voicing. Now, as bass players, the first note we jump to is probably going to be the root. And you can do that by playing those and putting a root underneath, and you have that Dmin7 chord. Now, if there was no bass line going on, this would probably be a pretty cool voicing to play. But the reality is the bass player or whoever's playing that bass line is probably going to be playing the root, so you don't really need to do that. So I'm going to play those 3rd and 7th, and then I'm going to add in another note, which is the 5th. Now you'll see this is a real kind of chunky sound right there when we put it all together. Now I'm going to be honest with you, there are cooler notes to play than the 5th, but we'll get to those later. We're going to build in quick digestible bites. So we're going to start with that, with our 3rd, 7th, and 5th. And let's play a little bit of chords over our walking bass line with that. Check this out. What I just played was something I referred to as a closed voicing. The notes were really tight together, and as a result, you get a big, thick sound. Since I'm playing a 6-string bass and I've got a little added register, I've got some more options for chords. So I'm going to play what I call an open chord voicing. A voicing is just the way we arrange the notes. You can play different voicings on the bass, on the piano, on the guitar. It's really the way that you arrange those notes together. I'm still going to play my F and my C, all right? And you can hear it's a little more open sound. Let's check that out with the root underneath. This, you can tell right away, even though we're playing the root, it doesn't sound as grounded because there's more space between the notes. Pretty cool, right? You can also do that with the 5th, just like I did. So I'm going to have A, C, and F. And you still have a pretty open sound right there. That's pretty cool. This is a personal preference thing. I prefer that more open sound when I'm playing chords on the bass because I think it just kind of, we have a little more space to hear things like that. So let's try again. I'm going to play some chords over that walking bass line, and this time I'm going to use more open voicings. can choose between those different voicings, the more closed voicings that I played, the more open voicings that I played, and mix them up with some rhythmic ideas and do some really cool things with chords over a walking bass line. I encourage you to try that out. With some foundational things beneath us, we got a walking bass line going, we've got some harmony happening. It's time to add a melody. Now, when we made a melody over the G dominant 7 chord, I used exclusively chord tones to make that. This time, I'm going to emphasize the chord tones, but I'm going to use all the notes of the Dorian scale to open things up a little bit. You'll hear that I keep coming back to those chord tones and I emphasize them a lot in the line, but I've got some of the other notes of the Dorian scale that kind of color things and open things up. You'll hear a lot of repetition in my melody, and you'll hear development, embellishment. Notice that that's something I talked about when I was talking about improvising over the G dominant 7 chord. Melodies that you construct work as great riffs that you can pull out later on when you're improvising. So let's check this one out. Here's a melody I wrote using the notes of a D minor 7 chord and the D Dorian scale. I really encourage you to write your own melodies using the D Dorian scale and the chord tones of a D minor 7 chord. The more melodies that you create by just slowing down and picking things apart and seeing what sounds good together, like I said, the more things you're going to have for improvising later on. So I really encourage you to try this out and write some melodies. And if you come up with a cool melody, send it my way. I would love to hear it. I bet I could learn something from your melody creation. So send it my way, whether you send me a video of you playing it or an audio file, or if you even want to write it out, send it so I can check it out. That would be awesome. Now, all of the things that I did today, including the chord voicings and the melody, can be found at my website. Just go to chipboazmusic.com, look under the Jazz Bass tab, and find Jazz Bass Quick Bite 6, and you'll find notation for all of that in both standard music notation and tablature, so you can learn that and try things out on your own. While you're there, I encourage you to sign up for my mailing list so I can keep you up to date on all the things I'm doing with my educational activities around the bass, as well as the music that I am releasing, so you can check it out. All right, that wraps it up for this time. Next time, I'm going to be talking about improvising over the D minor 7 chord. I can't wait to share that with you. Check all this stuff out and let me know what you think about it. And I look forward to seeing you next time.